McKinsey Lyon. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I am doing super well. Thank you for coming today. We have very hot coffee. We are teed up. We are ready to go. We are meeting today because a couple years ago, Representative Ted Hill was one of the first individuals that I spoke with that was a state rep. And I think this was in like 23. Mm-hmm. We talked in 23 and he was very concerned about critical minerals. And he was really concerned about critical infrastructure and our reliance on other foreign adversaries. He kind of declares himself, he's like, I'm the China guy. Everybody knows I'm tough on China. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah, we've heard
Hill.
it. Yeah,
right.
It's true.
Like,
it's true.
He's huge, by the way. Like when I heard fighter pilot, he's a big person. And like he's like 6'4". He shakes your hand. I'm like, I'm gonna die, right? Because I'm usually bigger than most people. Anyway,
probably not a common experience for you, I'm guessing.
No, it's not. But here's the other thing: people think I'm short. I don't know why. I was in the State House after this, like right at the end of the session, running around to find some like Lincoln Auditorium just to watch something, and I was like on the third floor. Turns out it's in the basement.
Yep.
Like, yeah, right there you go. Anyway, so I bumped into this person in civilian clothing. I'm like, hey man, sorry to bother you. Like, where's the Lincoln Room? And he's like, you're taller than I thought. I'm like, because I was wearing the ranch hoodie. I'm like, yeah, man. He's like, it's downstairs. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so people think I'm short. Doesn't matter. He introduced the problem of, look, the United States is hyper reliant on other countries, some of which are not friendly to us, or some of which are only friendly to us in grudging or in exchange quid quo pro ways. And that's a problem. That's a problem for our food supply. That's a problem for our critical mineral supply. That's a problem for a lot of things that we rely on for everything. And you and I got connected because you are the public relations person and essentially information holder for Perpetua, which is a mining and mineral company that is trying to work on the Stibnite mine, right? Stibnite mine is, again, named after the location, but specifically it is a gold and antimony mine.
That's right.
Antimony, obviously a very important piece of our national defense, because unless you want to fire lead balls out of a musket, we need antimony for shell casings to harden up lead and other metals so that we can have ammunition that's sufficient enough to hold the force of the explosion within the shell and then, of course, fire the bullet. So like, we don't get to load our AK-47s or our AR-15s without antimony in the current iteration with our technology. Talk to me about critical minerals in Idaho. There's a lot there.
I didn't realize that I would become passionate about critical minerals, but I am. So if at any moment I go too far or too fast, you just slow me down.
I will.
But I think a really good place to start for most people is, well, what is a critical mineral? We've got a periodic table full of minerals and metals, but which ones are critical? And first, I think it's really important to say that all metals and minerals are critical in one way or another for some industry. But as a country, we've created a list of 50 critical minerals, and we've defined which ones are critical, first based on, do we need it for our economic or national security? And then the second question is, do we have it? Do we have a secure supply? So when both of those questions are answered, we get about 50 minerals where we can say we need it. And if we don't have it, our energy, our technology, our manufacturing industries, and our national defense are threatened.
Okay, so this is like the N-1 philosophy, which is like, if you take this one thing away, we have a substantial breakdown in our economy or our defense.
Yes. It is a critical problem if we don't have access to this thing.
Not easily replaced.
No, and it's not easily replaced. Of those 50 minerals that we've decided we don't have access to it, and maybe that's because we're not producing enough in this country, or we're not producing any in this country, or we're getting it from places that are insecure. Because maybe it's a near-peer adversary. Maybe it's a company that we actually don't have a solid relationship with. Or maybe it's coming from a part of the world where something like a shipping disaster or a change in administration or something could threaten access to it. So of these 50, 30, the majority of that mineral is controlled by China.
Wait, back up. So we have 50 that pass the, we really, really, really need it, and we can't replace it.
Yes.
And of those 50, 30 of them are bulk supply come from China.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is a problem that we weren't paying a lot of attention to for a while. And part of it, as you and I have talked and we can talk about more, is that like, I don't want to think about where my things are coming from. But the other part of it really came to light during COVID, when all of a sudden basic things like toilet paper, we all remember it, right? Where I was like, oh, I can't get what I need when I need it. And
the irony of toilet
changed.
paper, of course, is that we had toilet paper.
We
we
were
weren't
fine.
actually
We were
getting
fine.
it. Like there was no actual scare on toilet paper. It's just that everybody ran to buy toilet paper and then we ran out. So it was a self-fulfilling prophecy.
100%.
Stop with the toilet
100%.
paper. That wasn't a real thing.
But it taught us this, like,
Yeah, right.
oh, I should be worried
About basic things.
things. Because I don't know where I'm going to get X, Y, or Z.
It should have told us to get bidets, but it did not.
It did not.
It
We did not make a lot of the right choices. So it also really became clear, because right about that same time, as other countries were shutting down or production of minerals started to change, both the production and the shipment. So for example, in 2021, or up until 2021, our U.S. military was sole sourcing a component of antimony called antimony trisulfide, aka stibnite, from China at military grade, which means this is the antimony formulation that our military needs. And like you said, for those casings, but also for the primers, the things that activate munitions, for 300 different types of small and medium caliber ammunition. We relied on a little bit of antimony trisulfide that we were only getting from China.
Okay, so antimony trisulfide is called stibnite.
Yes.
Okay, and antimony can come in a lot of. Is it appropriate
Different
to call it isotopes?
Not necessarily. I think
okay,
it's
so it's
different,
not-
different mineral formulations.
Okay,
yeah.
so it's not collection of neutrons or protons, right? It's.
It's yeah,
I'm
not
sorry,
necessarily.
I'm going too detailed.
But so for one good way to say it is there are products that are antimony sulfides. So antimony based with a sulfide, or antimony oxides, antimony with an oxide. And so it's just a different kind of
trisulfide.
chemical formulation of the
Gotcha.
mineral itself. What else? It's
Can
chemical
it be
properties.
attached to?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Okay.
So
Okay.
antimony trisulfide is a form of antimony called stibnite.
Got it.
It is the primer for these, or it's in the primers for these munitions. And in 2021, guess who stopped shipping it to the United States?
China.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all of a sudden, we had this thing that we really, really needed, and we no longer had a supply. And that's gotten bigger now, because in 2024, China turned up the heat even more. And they said, you know what? We're going to stop shipping all antimony products. And we're also going to stop shipping all gallium and germanium and most tungsten products to the United States.
Gallium, germanium, and tungsten.
And antimony. Gallium, germanium, and antimony are fully embargoed. None of it is leaving China, and none of it is coming to the United States.
And what do those other ones, what are those
They're
other two?
all, interestingly, defense and energy product related.
Oh, no. What's tungsten used for?
Tungsten is a metal strengthener. So it's in a lot of aircraft, ships.
Oh.
It's in munitions. It's in a lot of the things that we need in order to keep our warfighters safe, but also on the commercial side. Like antimony, yes, it has very specific industrial or defense industrial roles, but it's also on a commercial basis that we weren't paying attention to. I often say that like antimony is the unsexy critical mineral because no one was paying attention to it. It's in things like fire retardants or industrial lubricants, right, for big machinery, because it's got a fire retardant property. And so it helps other things resist heat. It also is a glass clarifier. So there's a huge boom for it right now because of the solar panel industry. It's in your iPhone as a glass clarifying agent. Because it does such a good job helping electrical components deal with heat, it's in almost all small electronics, but in very small quantities.
but we have millions and millions and millions of these items, right? Like solar panels are not slowing down in production, right? So you need the glass for that. iPhones, I mean, there's another one next week, I'm sure, or last week or whatever. Like I think I have an iPhone 12 and I just stopped. I'm like, it's good enough. Like the camera's good enough. Everything's good enough. Just stop it with it.
Stop.
Right. But like, it's not, we're never going to stop with the iPhones.
But
right?
we are in this race, right? Where we're constantly producing. And we don't always think about, well, what is the next technology going to demand from a mineral basis?
Because as we develop technologies like, and this is where advanced material science comes from, which is like, okay, we have this problem. We need, let's make something up. We need something that's incredibly clear, like glass, but can withstand temperatures far greater than contemporary glass. So we need something that, let's say glass melts at 700 degrees. Like we need something that we can actually see through like glass, but can last at 1500 degrees. Yes. Okay. What do we have on hand? What has, a strengthening property, whatever it might be. And they come up with this crazy concoction. The geniuses doing, material science are like, all right, look, we can make this. We can make like antimony infused glass. Nobody's ever made it before. We've never needed it before, but we need it now.
But holy crap, now we need it.
Now we really, really need it, because without this, we can't see inside of this thing, whatever the industrial thing is. And if we can't see inside that thing, we don't have a design that actually works, right?
Precisely.
Now we really need the antimony. So we may find something tomorrow that's like, hey, what was the T1? You just said. You said it was
antimony trisulfide.
No, the other one.
T1. The T1. I see. Tungsten.
Tungsten.
Yeah,
okay.
tungsten.
Like, so tomorrow we might come up with something where it's like,
we
need tungsten really, really badly, because this next iteration of this new technology is fundamental to U.S. industry. If we don't have a whole ton of tungsten, we're really in trouble.
And we saw it with lithium, right? Where all of a sudden the battery technology took off. We need a lot of cobalt and we need a lot of lithium. And the question becomes, if we want to push forward on technology, and whether that technology is to create more efficient energy systems, whether that technology is space technology or AI technology, whatever it is, it's going to require minerals.
Yeah, I remember when my first drill, right? I got the Walt 12, it was like a 12 volt, and it was one of those lock and load, instead of the slide, it was like the slap in the, whatever. And it was a NiCad battery, right? And then like 6-7 years later, all of a sudden you started seeing the lithium ones, and I'm sure they were available. They just weren't available at my, consumer range. But now all of my batteries are lithium, right? Like you just see this great evolution. So whatever they needed for the original battery set that I had, they no longer need. They're like, no.
Right, and so, yeah.
So you have these minerals that are part of, that come into vogue and are kind of like these ephemeral needs, where it's like, no. For this 15-year period, all we need is lithium. And maybe 15 years after that, we won't need it. But for right now, to advance technology and to start making the things or continue making the things that we want, we really need this thing. So it's this ever evolving, like, critical necessity where
it is dynamic and it is responsive. Yeah. The minerals we need. The problem in the United States at the moment, though, is, let's say tomorrow you create the technology.
The thing. I got the thing.
That is going to be the solution for our energy grids or for our computing technologies that makes it more efficient. You figure it out. Guess how long it would take you in this country on average to go from, okay, I know I need this mineral. I found it. How long will it take you till you can get it out of the ground? Any guess? I'm
going to say like 15 years.
Right now, the U.S., it takes 29 years. Second in the world, longest, only to Zambia. So we pride ourselves in this country on being this cutting edge of production and technology and manufacturing and research. And yet we have now handcuffed ourselves, because even if we identify that we need it, we can't respond fast enough. And that readiness question is, we can kind of know what we need today. But what do we need tomorrow? Because right now, that tomorrow we have to plan for could be 29 years away. And that's not to say that we need to go, just start digging holes in the ground. No, we need a process, right? We need a process first of identifying the minerals and securing to know that we've got the right quantity, and is it economic and is it feasible? We need public transparency and a permitting process that makes sure it's done right environmentally. But 29 years is too long to wait. And it's part of this vulnerability that we're struggling with now as a country, when China and our adversaries can turn off the tap or they can turn on the tap. And what kind of political control does that give them? What kind of economic control does that give them? It's scary to start thinking about when we have the minerals here. We don't have to be vulnerable, but it does mean we have to make some big choices.
Well, the one thing that, so first off, that we have, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but we've been able to maintain our cutting edge status because even though it's difficult for us to get what we need in a timely manner out of the United States, we just essentially go to like the world Amazon market and say, hey, I need mineral X. It's going to take me 29 years to get mineral X, or 20 years out of this thing, but I'm Apple. Like, I'm not waiting 29 years. Exactly. So let's go to the Congo and get whatever we need out of the Congo, or like who's selling X. Okay, call them and just tell them we need it all, like just the whole thing. And so they ramp up production. Now, the issue that's inherent in that, which is, why is it 29 years? Well, it's 29 years because like we care about Mother Earth,
yes,
right? Like we care about the way our environment looks. We care about our labor force. We care about safety, right? We don't want mines caving in on people. We don't want people getting like the black lung. We don't want all of these different things, right? But that's not actually right, because we don't actually care about the world. We care about our backyard. We are plenty happy to go to the Congo and encourage an industry and patronize an industry that will absolutely destroy Mother Earth, that has very little or no humane considerations within their labor force, that has no problem using 5-year-olds to, sift through mud and dirt.
100%.
We engage in this patronage and then hold ourselves at a very high moral standard and pat ourselves on the back for being environmental, when in reality, we're not being environmental at all. We just don't see it. We don't see the 5-year-old in the mud getting like, worms and parasites through his feet because he's sitting in water all day long or standing in water. Like we pat ourselves on the back for having like beautiful open lands and not killing the frozen tundra in Alaska. But then of course we allow other people to rape and pillage in our name, and we pay them for it. And I have an iPhone. Okay. I am aware that my iPhone, that my shoes, that like my shirt, that likely there are these supply chain mechanisms throughout the world that have utilized labor or practices that if I saw firsthand, I would likely not be happy with, right? And in fact, I guarantee it, okay? I understand that as a reality, but I'm also in recent days started wondering like, hey man, if that's true, like if we can hold this to be true, how can we hold that to be true and then continue patting ourselves on the back, just like giving myself a shoulder ache because I'm reaching around to pat on my back so much about our strict humanitarian and environmental regulations here. It's like, why is it that we make poor people shoulder the burden and we're so proud of ourselves here? Yep.
We've become pretty comfortable pushing impacts overseas, right? People I'm never going to meet, places I'm never going to see. And I don't have to see it. That doesn't mean those impacts aren't happening. And I'm an Idahoan true and through, and this is my home. And I care about this backyard. I really care about it. I want it for my kids and the generations that come after them. I also recognize that I'm very complicit in this system of consuming. And we can limit our consumption. We should all limit our consumption. We're not incentivized to because we don't see the impacts. I think when we can see the impacts, we're much more likely to make decisions on maybe I don't need Amazon at my doorstep every single day. So that is a part of it. That is absolutely a part of it. But the other thing that we need to be more sincere about is really thinking, well, how can we do this system better? Because right now it's pretty neocolonial, right? It's let other people have the impacts, we'll get the wealth from it.
What was that phrase? Neocolonial?
Neocolonial.
That's a beautiful, beautiful representation of it.
It's really how it made the most sense to me. It is an economic system where one party in control benefits by the mistreatment and I think manipulation or utilization of a system where people are vulnerable. And it's very much how our system is working right now when it comes to mineral development and manufacturing. We've pushed it offshore. And I think the harder question for us to answer is, but how do we bring it home? Because if we bring it home, we get some real benefits. We get those jobs that today a mining job is a job that you can have a mortgage on and you can support a family on when it's here. If we bring it home, it's under our environmental expectations. Our safety expectations are met when it's in our backyard. And when it's in our backyard, we know we have control so that we have access to this thing that we need. And when we talk about things like green energy and green or clean production, you can't call it clean or green if it's not happening here. I really, truly believe that if you're getting it from China or an African nation, you can't call it clean energy. And we shouldn't be feeling bolsterous and proud of ourselves for driving that Tesla if it needs cobalt from the Congo. So I think we're at this amazing opportunity now that we know we can do it right here. And we really need to. It's really no longer a question of should we mine here? It's now a question of how do we do it right?
We're talking about a broad range of minerals, right? Like, and not even that broad. It's like we've mentioned, I think 5,
yeah.
Right? But these are all things that we really fundamentally need. And there's a question of, okay, do we have access? Like, what is the state of the United States mineral access? Do we, like, if we wanted to, say we had like the most pro-mineral, let's do it at home administration and all industry got on board, could we supply ourselves with everything we need?
Almost entirely.
So we wouldn't need to go to the Congo for cobalt. We would just need to get the Jervois mine going in, what is it, Black Creek or something? And that's one, by the way, that was, God. So anybody who followed it at all, the water call, right? And then the accusation that it was because of defense funding. Jervois has 2 mines, right? So they do actually own a mine that has not been in operation since like 2019 on the Snake Plain Aquifer, but it has not been in operation since 2019. There's a second mine that's on the Salmon watershed, completely different water system that did not have a water call to it, that is potentially had gotten some kind of funding or contract to supply critical minerals to the U.S. Defensive Forces. Okay. Those 2 things got conflated. There's a water call, and then everybody says the U.S. government, through Ukraine funding, is funding this cobalt mine operation that requires 500,000 gallons of water a day, which is why they shut down farmers in Idaho. And it's like, wait a minute. And you couldn't deny, what was so interesting is you actually had to look at a map because you couldn't deny that Jervois existed.
No.
You couldn't deny that a cobalt mine existed in Idaho. You couldn't deny that perhaps there was a contract for cobalt. What you had to realize is there were 2 mines, and one was in like middle of Idaho where there was no water call or water problem. And the other that was not in operation was absolutely in the area of the Snake Plain Aquifer, but it had nothing to do with the water call.
Right. And I think like,
but we have cobalt in Idaho. That's what you're saying.
We have cobalt. It's here. And I think the industry is part of that problem. For a really long time, for decades.
Yeah, where was
the mining industry
when those guys came up?
We have been trained in this, like, if they don't see us, then they won't think about us mentality. And I think it's hurt the industry because it didn't help the public come along in our transition as an industry. The environmental laws of the 70s and 80s were put in and changed how we produce, how we operate a mine. But rather than bringing people along with us to say, here's how we're changing, here's how our ethos has evolved, here's how the regulations have evolved, we were very much let's not communicate, let's not show, let's not be transparent, let's not bring people out to the mine site because that just gets complicated. And then we have to talk about hard things. And it really hurt us as an industry, because we have changed from what's required from us environmentally, financially, safety protocols, all of it. And we need to be more proactive. We need to say, hey, Idaho, guess what's in your backyard? A cobalt mine that's going to help our national security. An antimony mine that's going to protect your warfighter. A phosphate mine that's growing the food you need, right? And we need to be proud, honestly, of the work we're doing and the minerals we're producing and who's doing that work. Meet a miner. Because you might have one as a neighbor and you might not know it. But meet a miner.
I want to meet a miner.
Come meet a miner.
I want to meet a miner.
Right? And that was one of my first lessons in this industry. I was very skeptical. Like, oh, mining. All I saw as a kid who grew up here were the scars that were left behind. You know, go to Idaho City, right? Sure. You see the dredge mining and the impacts of it that were left over from generations ago. That's all I knew about mining until I met a miner. And I was like, oh, this is your backyard too. You want to hunt, you want to fish, you want to take your kids out here and enjoy Idaho. So do I. So you're doing it in a way that protects this place because, like me, you love it too. And we've been really bad at showing that, of being transparent. To be like, come on, come meet us. Come out to the mine site. Come out to the mine site.
Come out to the mine site. Listen, I'm going to come to the mine site with you. Okay. One thing that it's almost like this universal burden or universal problem that I see cross industry, which is, let's take ag. Okay. And I recently went and toured a dairy and spent hours there, like pet the cows, hung out. And dairy is one of those industries that in general, ranchers, cattle people specifically, they're just like, look, man, I do my work. I supply a great product and I go home and that's it. And they're not big social media people. They're also not big communicators. They're also not really like stir the pot people, right? They're like, listen, man, just let me work. Let me do my job.
Just let me do my job.
And you see that sentiment in, I would assume, mining. I haven't talked to any miners, but I will. You see that in a lot of different areas. But these all turn out to be these fundamental areas of our life, right? That we really need to keep existing. And because they're so fundamental, and because the people don't get on their soapboxes frequently, you have this situation that's been created by a lot of social media and hyper communication and hyper connectivity, where these fundamental industries are like ripe for the plucking for people that want to spread propaganda. For the number of people that brought up the cobalt thing was very interesting, because I watched a lot of different videos and they were still coming out even to a couple months ago, because essentially you have people that make their entire career on like YouTube or Instagram or TikTok, whatever. And they have these types of things where it's like this sleight of hand, like there are these 9 nuggets of truth and then one big lie, right? Or accusation, right? Or innuendo. I don't know if it's true, but it really looks like, and then everybody takes it as gospel. The problem is, like, you can't talk back to those people. There's no communication mechanism. They're like, look, this is not my jam. I don't spend all day sitting on social media to like communicate with these people. But that doesn't mean the story of mining in America, that doesn't mean the story of dairy in America isn't being told. It's just not being told by the people that are doing it. To the point about the dairy, I literally go to this dairy for hours. I meet these cows. I see like the nursery, because obviously to have lactating cows, you need nurseries. Like it was really funny. So the guy taking me around, he's like, listen, man, these cows are in labor. I was like, okay. He's like, so
You got to pull a cow. Did you have to pull a cow?
No, I didn't get to pull a cow. He's like, I'm going to need you to be quiet. I was like, and he said it a lot nicer than that.
Not disturb
but he's
the mothers,
he's like, listen, we can joke all we want when we get back in the car. Like, cause we were having a really good time. He's like, but
Don't
these
bother my
cows
mamas.
are stressed. Right. So like you need let's be very calm and move slowly. And we did. And it gave me a pause where it's like, holy cow, this guy is really serious about these cows not having a bad experience. And then I came to find out all of this information about the cows. He's like, listen, man, I was making a joke about my French bulldog. And he's like, when your dog's not feeling well, right? He's like, I know when my cows aren't feeling well. And I know that just by looking at them and experiencing them. And then they do testing with it's called it's not semantics. It's I can't remember. It's an SY. The point is that they test for things like white blood cell count within milk. And if the dairymen produce a quantity of milk that has lower white blood cell counts, which is a universal indicator of stress, they get a quality bonus. So this guy's financial return is literally dependent on are these the least stressed animals and happiest animals and best fed animals possible? Better fed animals, better nutrition, you're going to produce better milk, more milk, all these things. It's like this story of dairy, I have never heard it anywhere.
And I think we assume that because somebody has work boots on, they're not a scientist in one way or another, right? That they're not thinking about how and using data,
right,
and information and science,
right,
to create a better experience, a better product, and something that you and I can be proud of. I have Reed's Dairy deliver milk to my door every day, every week for the last 17 years.
Dude, their huckleberry. I tried to meet Alan Reed.
Chocolate milk.
I got.
It's like you will be on a high for at least 12 hours.
I was over in East Idaho, okay, and I was coming home, and literally it was like 4:30, and I was about to leave. So it's like you got a haul, right? And I'm like, God, I got to get dinner. I'm like, no, I don't. I just need to swing by Reed's Dairy. And I got a double huckleberry, and I took a picture of the little piggies with a wagging tail, as you're going through the drive-through. And I was like, this is the best ice cream ever. And by the way, it was enough for a family of 7 for a week.
100%.
But it was like, that's really, really good dairy.
And you know what? And I feel good about it because there was one point when I called them. I called to the dairy and I was like, I need to know. Are your cows okay? How is it going? And they're like, oh, come on out. And I think that's the same philosophy that mining needs to take, which is and it's such an Idaho idea too. We have access to all of this stuff. You have access to a farmer, you have access to a rancher, and you have access to a miner. Come see what we're doing and know, and then feel really good about where the things we need are coming from.
Right.
Because
and see that we don't have 6-year-olds.
Right.
Right. First things first, you're not going to see a child here.
Nope.
Second thing, everybody's got a helmet on. Right. We have OSHA. We have people aren't dying here. Right. That. All of these things.
Everybody home safe.
Right. Everybody's going home safe. So let's just start with the human suffering. We're going to do better than any other country in maintaining a low level of human suffering, right, on the job. That's one. Okay. And then second, we have an obligation to do better than the miners of the past. And they got us to this point, but they also did things that had long-term ramifications for our environment. And that was bad. Yes. And we acknowledge that. And we now understand that if you're going to get this thing that we all want and need, by the way, but if we're going to get this thing, we also can't rape and pillage the environment over here. And we can all see examples of that. That's not good.
And we can't run a successful business if we're not following the law. If we're not following environmental standards, if we are not good to people, if we are not good to our communities, if we are not careful in our environmental footprint, we can't run a successful business.
And you guys, this is the other thing. You guys don't set the standard.
No.
Right?
It's not up to me.
Right. It's listen, if the EPA, go to the EPA and be like, hey, I want these standards. And the EPA says, okay, sure. Not that they're going to listen to you or me, but there's EPA says, yeah, sure. I'll absorb your standards. Then if the company meets that standards, you should say, hey, thank you for meeting my standards. But there's also, it's almost like there's a direction where people say, no, you can't be clean enough. right? There's no standard
Right.
where you can hit it and I'll say, okay, thanks, you did good.
Right. We all need to start with this, like, there's going to be an impact. I am moving rocks. I'm moving dirt. There is going to be an impact. And I'm not ever going to try to hide from that. And yet, with that impact, well, what can we feel like we know about it? Well, I know that it comes because there's a plan that's been reviewed by our federal and state agencies. Multiple alterations of that plan have been looked at upside down and, left and right. For years. And all of the science and all of the data to figure out, well, how do we do this in the least impactful way? And how do we also do it so that we meet our environmental standards and our standards for workplace safety? And how do we do it in the best way? So we know that. But it is not impact free. And that's, again, this question we keep coming back to in the critical minerals world, which is we're going to bring these impacts home. And now the question is how? Because when we bring them home, I can guarantee you it's going to be safer. I can guarantee you it's going to have a smaller environmental footprint. And I can guarantee you that you can see it. And then when you need it, it'll be here. We will be ready. And that's new. That is new for our generation and the last couple of generations. And I also think it's really exciting. It's a pivotal moment. We gotta be leaning in here because there isn't a world anymore where we can either say, oh, we don't need impacts. If it has an impact, we don't want it.
That's the alternative.
Just push it away. Just push it off somewhere else.
Right. And that's what we've been doing. And I'm sorry, but like,
no,
I can't. This whole idea is like people that are rising up and fighting against environmental impacts in the United States still benefit from those environmental impacts in a different country. It's not like they're saying, no, listen, throw away the iPhone or recycle it, whatever. Get rid of the tech. We're not about it, right? And by the way, they're not tweeting this because they're not on technology. They're like, no, I'm going to live in an off-grid I'm going to live in a manner that doesn't require these things. And because of that, I'm asking you to stop doing it. That person would be like, damn, man, you got a point. You live off-grid. You're like Amish, right? Or whatever.
The Amish, go for it.
Okay, like, great. And they're saying, hey, look, we don't use, even they use steel and metallurgy and stuff. Yeah, so like that's a problem. Anyway, the point is, but if you made a case for that, you're like, okay, I see where you're coming from. Okay, and you know what? Good for you for actually walking the walk. Like, here we go. But for the people tweeting off of the iPhone, stop raping and pillaging the environment in the United States. It's like, okay, so you don't actually care about the environment. Like, you don't care about human beings.
Did you know that an EV, an electric vehicle, takes 6 times the amount of minerals?
That from an internal combustion engine? Mm-hmm. I believe that. Yeah. I believe that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. So we need it. And we can all feel good about it. We can still actually feel like environmentalists. We can feel like conservationists. We can feel like a humanitarian if we say, okay, let's do it here. Let's do it here.
Let's do it here. Let's go look at the impact.
Yeah.
Let's deal with the impact.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we don't have 5-year-olds working the mines.
Please.
Right.
Yeah.
But like, that's
it.
That's reality, right?
It is.
Like, I remember when I was in elementary school, I remember I saw this, I was shown this documentary on indentured servitude. And I remember seeing this like 7-year-old, I think he was making bricks because his grandfather had taken out a loan and then like they were never able to pay back the loan or something. And that was we were studying, I think we were doing a section on slavery, and they're like, we still have contemporary slavery. We just call it a different thing. And we like rationalize it differently. It's like, well, you owe me because you like took out that money 30 years ago and your 7-year-old's going to come to work every day until it's repaid. And I remember being so scared of that as a kid. And they're like, but we don't do this in the United States. Don't worry. And it's like, oh, great. But what if we're buying those bricks?
Because you are.
Wait,
we are.
Are those the ones at Ace Hardware? Like, wait, who buys those bricks? Do those bricks only stay in India? And it's like poo-poo on India because here's this poor Indian kid? No, that's not the case.
We benefit from that system. We benefit from it. And it's not only, I think, do we have some moral challenges with it, but as a country, it also makes us extraordinarily vulnerable. If we can't produce the things we need, we can't meet our new demands on the energy grid, we can't build it fast enough, we don't have the weapons systems we need because our adversary decided to turn off the tap for the building block that we need to create those things. It's an escalating problem of, not only do we not know then, okay, well, how is this warfighter, how is this soldier going to have the equipment that they need just to be safe if they are in a conflict environment, to what happens to our place in the world when we don't have the hard power that enables our soft power. If we don't have an industrial base, we don't have that influence in the world. We can't help our allies if we don't have the basic pieces of our defense systems. And the fact that China can turn off the tap and say, oh, no more antimony, no more gallium, no more germanium. It's not just you don't have this mineral anymore. It's you don't have the systems to respond.
Okay, so 50 critical minerals, 30, our primary supplier is China.
Yes.
Of those 30, how many of those are involved in defense?
That's a great question. The Department of Defense also has kind of their own micro list of strategic critical minerals, is essentially what they call them. Sure. And I don't know the exact number, but it's at
least 4 or 5.
Oh, more than
you
that.
Just named 4 or 5.
It's got to be, I would say, nearly 20, if not more, of just those have a role in the defense industrial base somewhere. And for a long time, we just haven't paid that much attention because it was just assumed that the manufacturer would have what they need to provide to the Department of Defense.
Right, whatever it is.
Yeah, because it just comes, right? You just order it and it comes.
It's like the Amazon of the world.
Yeah. And I think we're all very used to that system.
Yeah.
And now we're really being challenged. Like there were force majeure notices or contractual notices within the industrial base of people saying, I can't, I'm very much at the bottom or the start actually of your supply chain. And guess what? I now can't produce what you're asking me to produce. And it's signaling alarm bells. And in fact, in a way that I think is very unique for this moment, in that doesn't matter if you are a Republican or you are a Democrat, you are worried and you're looking for solutions. And so I think it's just a very unique moment where these are really big questions and we don't have the luxury of saying we'll solve the problem later. We gotta solve it now. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why this project, here in Idaho is just it's made a big difference to how I think about this problem, right? It's complicated. It's not easy. It is our backyard, but how do we do it right? And doing it right actually really provide for our nation. This mine site, Stibnite, I grew up here and I had no idea that during World War II, the eve of World War II, so before we got in, we were getting our tungsten and our antimony as a country from China. And the blockade in the Pacific from the Japanese and Japanese invasion of China meant that all of a sudden the U.S. didn't have a supply of tungsten and antimony on the eve of war. So the government set out and found both at Stibnite, Idaho, and told the mine, please stop producing gold and silver, and would you please instead produce tungsten and antimony. Work up there was so important, it counted as your war service, which I didn't know any of this. And then years later, the Stibnite mine was credited with shortening World War II by a year and saving 1 million American lives because it provided 90% of the antimony used during World War II by our country and 50% of the tungsten. And here we find ourselves again in a situation where the things we need are coming from China and we need to take action. And it can clearly change the course of history if we can access these things. And I'm just constantly reminded of, even when these topics are uncomfortable, like mining, we've got to figure it out. because it will change history, whether or not we can access it or not. And as an Idahoan and as an American, we don't have a choice. We gotta figure out how to do it right. And we gotta really be willing to dig in and literally and figuratively on finding the solutions, because they're in our backyard.
McKinsey, look, let's do this.
Okay.
Let's call it for today. I feel like we've really covered,
a little bit
lot.
of ground.
It's great. And without, like, this has been a beautiful, broader introduction to critical minerals in the United States, and specifically in Idaho. Why don't we call it now? Let's come back. Let's do another iteration. Let's start digging into individual minerals, individual use cases, places we can get them, substitutes for them if they're possible or not possible. But let's just start breaking this down so people,
I'd love it.
Because I, as just an average citizen, I don't know. Like, you're like, hey, we got 50 critical minerals. Okay. Like, I've heard of tungsten.
What does that mean?
Yeah, like, I don't know about any of these things, nor would I understand the relevance and our need for them. And because of that, because I don't understand it, I don't have any reason to go along with or contemplate the changing to my world paradigm, which is like, oh, we're gonna, have an industrial base here for critical minerals. It's like, no, I don't want to. It's like, that's literally, it's like, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me. But it was like, oh, okay, do you like bullets? You like bullets. Okay, great. Then let's have the conversation then. So let's come back and do that. Is there anything you'd like to say here at the end?
Thank you. This is an important conversation, and we need to engage in it. And so, very willing, very excited.
Awesome.
And that's it.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in. Thank you for making the time, and we'll do it again.
Awesome.